That's who you go to, Life Navigators. They've been doing it for 60 years or whatever, and these are people that's been a part of their life. They didn't think this was available, so they created this organization so that everybody has the information out there, and then they can decide how they specifically want to handle it. All right, it's the Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer. All right, Brian, first of all, come on, what's the deal with David Bakhtiari? All right, okay, I just assume he's hurt, all right? He can't play because he's hurt. But when you ask LaFleur after the game, he makes it all complicated, and then they ask clearly about whether he doesn't want to play on artificial turf. All LaFleur had to say is David's hurt, he's got a knee, and he couldn't play. That's the end of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that should be the end of the discussion. I mean, I think.
So why doesn't LaFleur say that?
I think he said something of that nature today. I think I'm looking at.
I know, but after the game.
It's a good question. I don't know.
All right. Okay.
I mean, the whole situation. I think because of Dave's comments about the turf and his obviously anti-turf stance.
Right.
I think it's turning this into Dave refuses to play on turf. I don't think that's the case. I think his knee issues are well documented, right, over the last few years. I think it's well documented, and obviously, what I believe is his knee did not recover from week 1 to week 2, and I think that's going to be the case throughout this season. Is there's going to be weeks where his knee feels good, and there's going to be weeks that it doesn't, and they're going to have to just figure it out.
So explain to me why LaFleur doesn't just say that. It's so easy.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I think there's
All right, we can move on. I
just think there's I think LaFleur's just trying to play that less information is better. And I think that's all he's trying to do. You know what I mean?
But he doesn't. Here's what I say again, Brian. He doesn't. It's easy.
He's
agree. Clearly got an injury, and when he doesn't play, so why didn't we put him on the questionable list, whatever? You have an answer for that. Well, he wasn't questionable until Friday. His knee hurt, he couldn't play. What about all the other artificial stuff? It's irrelevant. Has nothing to do with anything. He's hurt, he can't play. How hard is that? Whenever LaFleur does something like this, I always assume he's protecting someone because he protects everyone. That's kind of how it is. Now, do you agree with that theory? Because otherwise I'll have to come up with a new one.
No, I think he does. I mean, my time with him, I thought he always looked out for the player's best interest and wanted to protect the player. Right. He's not a coach that's going to go throw someone under the bus, which as a player you respect, right? For me personally, I had a couple knee injuries when he was the head coach, and he never threw me under the bus. I mean, I always played the following week.
Let's address that. You've lived this. What's the deal? You got a knee injury. All right. What happens to take us through what you went through on a week-to-week basis? All right. Monday, you do something, or what happened? Tell us what it is.
Yeah. So a good example would be my first year with LaFleur. I think we were out at San Francisco on a Sunday night game or something like that. We got blown out. I tore my MCL in the second quarter. Eric Armstead rolled into it. I was out for the game. So we go in Monday. We scan the knee. We take a look at it. We figure out what exactly is going on in the knee. Obviously, Doc McKenzie diagnoses it on the sideline. He feels that this is what's going on. This is what I think. You're done for the day. Go get a scan Monday. Confirm the report. And then we build a plan from there, and we just judge it based on how the knee reacts and how I recover. I was always a guy that normally I would take till Thursday to do some work again to see how it felt. I'd take Wednesday off, being there with the trainers and the strength staff, kind of going through some light O-line movements to see, is this even possible? If it felt possible on Wednesday, I'd put the pads on or whatever we were doing, and I would go test it a little bit at practice, kind of see where I'm at. Maybe what I would normally do is what Wilde and Domofsky would really love. I always waited for the media to leave, and then I'd go out and test it so we wouldn't be giving anything away that he practiced today or he didn't practice today. I'd always wait until the media left so that I could go out there and do what I needed to do. Because if say I was limping on it bad, right, and I was on the injury report, I was always on the injury report as questionable, I think, every week. Once I got to a certain point in the season, I was always on. But if I had a major limp or something of that nature, You don't really want that out in the media, right? Because then you know who else reads that?
I understand completely, but you understand fans in the media would like to know, and you're not going to give. But what's the tip? Like if somebody's questionable or somebody doesn't practice Wednesday, it doesn't guarantee what's going to happen. But there has to be a pattern, or does the pattern differ with every individual player?
I think it's going to differ with different guys, right? I think you look at a guy like Dave, who is a veteran, who obviously he's on this schedule where he probably doesn't need to practice all week. So his is going to be hard to judge week by week, it seems. It's really going to be difficult. But normally I always looked at it, if guys can do work and get in some sort of practice on a limited basis on a Friday or a Saturday at the latest, if they can get that Friday limited tag in participation, there's a chance that they go, right? If they get 2 days in a row on Friday, Saturday, if the team practices Saturday, which most teams do. I'm not sure if there's an injury report on Saturday, not anymore. There was in 2019 and when I was in Green Bay, and I think in LA, I forgot. But normally you look for those last 2 days of the week to see the injury tag, to see how that goes. With myself, it was always...
Now with Bakhtiari, I'm assuming we're never going to know. I mean, it's going to be up to it's going to be a game time decision every week. The question for me is, when do the other players know? Or are they going to go all season being ready, be it Walker or somebody, knowing that every week he could play, and he's just going to have to take that approach? Or is there a time each week where the coaching staff wants the person who's going to play to know?
I mean, obviously the coaching staff wants to have a pretty good idea probably by Thursday or Friday what the guy's going to do. I think from a player standpoint, from player to player standpoint, I know for me personally, whenever I'd be on that 50-50 mark, I would tell the guy, my backup, like, hey, man, you need to be ready to go this week. And I'm sure that's something that David does as well. Right now to the young guys in his group, like, hey, you need to be ready to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get out there on Sunday. And that's something I always did. It's a common courtesy I look at for the guys behind me, because the guys behind me, you want to make sure that they have the mentality that they're going to be playing. Like, you're playing this game. I always looked at it personally for me, like if I got the limited tag, which in my last year in Green Bay, and it was, the training staff there is fantastic. I think they're great, and the docs. If I always had that limited tag on Friday, Saturday, pretty much I was going to be playing. That's the way I looked at it. If I could go out there on a limited basis on Friday and on Saturday, regardless of what I did throughout the week, I was going. Because at the end of the day, I needed a little work for myself personally to hear the plays in the huddle, to get the footwork movement down, even in a non-high speed sort of way, more than just a walkthrough, but not quite full speed. I needed that for myself. Dave, I think, is on a different level. I mean, Dave's a better player than I am, or was, so to speak. He needs different things than I do. Each guy's different. For him, it's going to be interesting throughout the season to see how this goes, right? Because like you said,
now, we can move on, because I want to move on to the game. But I want to ask you one last thing. All right, it's my belief. Forget what fans say. Forget what the media think. Everybody on that team believes in David Bakhtiari. Know that if he can't play, he will play. And there's not a doubt, and never will be a doubt, about his dedication to the game and to the team, regardless of how this goes week to week. Is that accurate or not?
That's 100% accurate. I think the team knows if Dave's able to play, he's going to play. And that's just what it is. I mean, I've always felt that way about him when I was there. And I know it, as he's taken on this leadership role in the team knows he's a guy that if he's able to go out there, put his pads on and play, he's going to do it. And that's the way you got to look at it. And as a player, you also have to look at this thing in a different way too. Like if you're going to go out there and be a liability for the team, right? Like if you go out there and you're going to be a liability because you can't move or you can't do your job properly, and you can get your quarterback hurt, or you can negatively impact the guy playing next to you because you can't do your job at 100%, there's a good chance in your mind mentally, like, man, if I go out there, I could really impact this offense in a bad way. And that was always something I was concerned about, was if I can go out there and do my job in 80% level or above, I'm going to go. If it was below that, there's major question marks of, am I going to be a liability, or B, am I going to be able to even do my job? And while I'm doing my job, am I putting my knee at risk or any body part at risk even more because this knee isn't ready? And that's the way I always approached it. I mean, and everyone's different. I get it. But I don't think that locker room looks at Dave any different because he didn't play that game. I think they understand, especially in the locker room, what he's dealing with, what he's got going on. And they know if he's able to play, he's going to go out there and play.
All right, let's get to the game. I want to know your first thought after the game. You get one thought. My thought is, with all these people missing offensively, they more than did well enough to win. The defense didn't hold up their end of the donkey. It's not like they're horrible, but when you have an offense that's missing maybe their 4 best players, unless Jordan Love is now one of the top 4, and you put up 24 points, that's doing your job given all those people missed, and the defense just wasn't good enough in the game.
Yeah, I'm half in and half out with you on that. Why I'm half out on that?
Give yours. Give your one thing. You don't have to agree with this. All right, now, it's the Brian Bulaga Hour. Your first thought that you want to tell everyone is the first thing you will remember or you want to say about this game. Take it away.
The thing that I took away from it after the first glance, before I went back and watched everything, again, like I did, was that was a team loss. Right. It was a team loss. I don't look at one side or the other that lost that football game. And let me tell you why. I feel that way because at the end of the day, offense didn't do their job when they needed to, right? 3rd and 1, don't convert, 21 rushes, 84 yards, and the defense gives up 211 yards on the ground. There's the stat right there. I know that the stats in the game, Green Bay was pretty much in the driver's seat in every stat in the game, right? But you look at the one that counts, and that's the ground game. And we know a lot of these games with Green Bay is going to come down to the ground game. It has to. The ground game has to be there to help Jordan Love. He only threw the ball 25 times. I get it. 151 yards, 3 touchdowns. Had a nice day if you technically threw the air, did a good job. But if you're only rushing for 84 yards and giving up 211, that is not a recipe for success. I don't care who you're playing, where you're playing. You can't win with those 2 stats. You just can't. Time of possession, Atlanta, 36 minutes to Green Bay's 23. Big, big stats that you don't really think about as you're watching the game, but then you go back and you look at these things and you rewatch the game and you're looking at these stats that time of possession, rushing yards, and 3rd down. I mean, Green Bay was 3-9 on 3rd down. Again, not a winning recipe. It's just certain things that you just can't have. I mean, 2 interceptions missed by the Packers defense, right? Walker and Jair, 2 picks. Should have had them, right? And then you look at Green Bay on offense. I can't get off of the 84 rushing yards. I can't get off of that because that is such a big stat, especially when you look at the situational football that they were in, the 3rd and 1 miss and other situations throughout that game where you just needed to get some consistency on the ground and they just couldn't find it. And I mean, Dillon 15 for 55, Jordan Love 2 for 23, and the other guys had a couple here and there, which isn't good enough. I mean, you see Aaron Jones, kind of a big deal.
This is the Brian Bulaga Hour. I'm Homer. I asked some of the questions, but it's now the second quarter, and you get to ask the questions. 1-800-990-3776. Yeah, Brian Bulaga would rather you ask questions than me. He said so. That's fine. And again, I'm at Blue Mountains Life Navigators 40th Annual Challenger event. They are your disability partner. They have put this group together to help people that have kids' disabilities. And what's the best way to handle it? Best thing to do? They don't tell you what to do. They tell you all the options that you have, and then you can look at all these different places and figure out what's best for you, whatever the age of the child is. And these are people that have lived it and are now trying to help everybody else who's dealing with all that you have to deal with at whatever age with your disability child. Your questions for Brian Bulaga next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
We do have an accident accident on southbound Pewaukee Road, just south of I-94 off on the right. So be careful with that. The rest of the system on and off the brake. Southbound 41 slowing from Silver Spring pretty much all the way down to Mayfair Road. Northbound's going to be slow from Wisconsin Avenue all the way up past Watertown Plank Road to Swan Boulevard. And then westbound 94 slowing from 20th Street through the Stadium interchange. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, increasing clouds, a slight chance for showers later on, a low of 55. Tomorrow, scattered rain, an isolated thunder shower with a high of 70. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Football Guy.
Just as long as they're 18-wheelers that are full of inventory, don't jackknife on the highway, then everything will be fine.
Football Guy.
Why would you put that out in the universe? Why would you do that?
You psycho.
Yeah, you psychopath. It's not healthy, Jason. What are you doing?
Coming at it from different views.
Come on.
I'm a psycho and a moron.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Also sponsored by Coors Light. Weekdays 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN.
Kevin Moret here from Mentality Men's Health. We hear stories every day in our clinics that what used to work for guys doesn't anymore. Increase cardio, cut out certain food, nothing stops the changes in their bodies, especially the weight. The fact is, years of decreasing testosterone has packed on the belly fat that won't go away. We've introduced a medication, semaglutide, that helps drop 15% of the body weight on average while preserving testosterone. Join the over 20,000 Mentality clients and jumpstart your results. In Milwaukee, go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com.
Greetings, ESPN listeners. This is Matt Anderson with Maddie's Bar and Grill in New Berlin. I want to personally thank everyone for making our 25th summer amazing. The Big Backyard at Maddie's hosted over 100 catered parties and live music events, and we are just getting warmed up as we turn the corner into another great Wisconsin sports season. Our 18-foot LED wall, combined with Maddie's signature hospitality, culinary and spirits expertise, and amazing space makes this your ultimate destination for all things sports this fall. I'll see you when I'm looking at you.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Tailgating is back, Wisconsin. Have you ever wondered how tailgating started? One theory is that it started during the first college football game in 1869, as spectators spent their pregame ritual grilling sausages at, of all places, the tail end of a horse. Another is that tailgating started in 1919 during the first Green Bay football season. Fans backed up their pickups to the field, folded down their tailgates for seating, and served food and beverages. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. Since 1960, we've been the place to stock up for all your tailgate rituals. With over 2,000 varieties of beer, 3,500 types of liquor, and over 8,000 wines, Discount Liquor is your one-stop tailgate shop. Discount Liquor in Milwaukee on 51st and Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha on Main and Barstow. See all of our weekly specials at DiscountLiquorInc.com.
Discount Liquor.
They say seeing is believing, and when you see what's inside at American Place Casino, you better believe you're gonna love it. Because when it comes to amazing gaming, we're a real game changer. With the most exciting of table games like blackjack, craps, and roulette, the newest slots, a sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and more. So if you're ready for excitement, we'll see you soon. American Place Casino. Change the game.
Must be 21 years of age or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
One 800-990-3776. The Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer. I'm at Life Navigators at Blue Mound. Life Navigators, your disability partner. Blue Mound Country Club for the Life Navigators 40th Annual Challenger event honoring Jim Phillips. Golfers and guests are coming together to make a difference in the lives of kids and adults with disabilities in our community. You want to know all the options you have, Life Navigators is the expert. Learn more about Life Navigators at lifenavigators.org. 1-800-990-3776. Bill did not call, he texted. Please have Mr. Bulaga, I like that, rate the offensive line performance with the injuries to the starters.
Yeah, we got a real test of the depth right away, didn't we? Obviously, with Dave being out, that was announced pregame, and then Elton going down, I think, what was it, in the second quarter or early second, whenever it was. We got a real look at the depth, and I'm going to say it. I didn't really like it. I didn't like it. I don't like to put everything on A.J. Dillon, right? The 15 for 55, that's not all on him. I mean, there was plenty of times were first-level defenders. That means the defensive line were in the backfield by the time he got the ball, and there were no lanes. And you look at the 3rd and 1, the left guard didn't climb up to the linebacker. I think it was Newman. Didn't climb up to the linebacker. Linebacker scraped over the top, filled the gap. There was nowhere for Dillon to go. He tried to dive forward to get a yard, and he didn't get it. So multiple things added up to that rushing stat. So if I had to give it with the subs, the backup guys that came in, I would say C- to a D overall. You look at the numbers, you look at the performance. I get it. I think they gave up a sack, but that wasn't the story of the day, right? If you watched the game and you saw the pressure that Love was under, especially towards the end of the game when they needed to start throwing the football, especially that last drive, I think he hit someone in his legs every pass attempt. I mean, you got to be able to hold up when the game's on the line. 2-minute drill, that's when it counts, and they didn't give Love any time to do that. I thought Tom, again, played well. If you're going to look at it silver lining, I thought Tom played well again. He's putting consistent film out there, and he looks good. He looks like by the time Elton was gone, it looked like he was the only one that felt comfortable and looked settled, which is a credit to him, especially when things aren't going your way and you're in some bad situations. I thought he did well. But overall, C-, D+ would be my grade.
Well, what should expectations be given you're missing your 2 best offensive linemen? What would you have accepted, a C, or what's fair for people filling in that situation?
I would have felt good with a C+, right? And I think everything feels better with a win, and obviously with a loss, you look at it a little bit more critically. But at the end of the day, like when I watch offensive line play, it doesn't matter if you're a starter or a backup or X, Y, and Z. Like your film is what it is, right? Like you either win a block or you lose a block, or you cut guys loose, you look out of position, you look off balance, or whatever it may be. And from what I watched, that would be the grade I'd go with. I mean, guys have to understand, especially when you're a backup and you're already down an offensive lineman, so Dave's out and a backup's in, you have to know as a backup lineman, like, there is a good chance that my number gets called here. Like, I'm one injury away, as our old line coach James Camp used to say, one chin strap breakaway or one shoelace breakaway from going in the game. And you have to be ready to go. And the expectation, especially I know it hasn't changed for the Packer offensive line. If your number's called, you're in there to win. You need to win your block. Doesn't matter if it's ugly, but if you win your block, you did your job. And that just didn't happen consistently enough on Sunday.
Who disappointed you in terms of what your expectations were? Because nobody really played that you didn't have some idea of their talent level.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know much about Walker, the left tackle, right? Like, I didn't know much about him. And you could tell right out the gate he was a little antsy, a little nervous. Again, I've never watched him play. I mean, yeah, he got reps in the preseason, but that's all with a grain of salt to me, the preseason. It was, his first action against ones on the road in a hostile environment, close game. And I was hoping to see a little bit more out of him, right? And then they put in Yash, right? I think Yash got some reps in there as well.
Yep. And then they moved Walker over kind of like to a 6th man, almost as a tight end on a couple of plays, right?
Yeah. They went to a 6-man to shore some things up, or different packages to maybe get some more, push in the run game, which didn't happen. And also left guard Newman, who started a lot of games last year, played a lot of football last year, didn't look comfortable from the minute he got in there. Didn't look like he settled in. And I know it's hard to come in as a backup. I did it as a rookie. It's hard to do. You have to grow into the game and kind of get the feel for the pace and speed and physicality of it. It takes a little time, but the 3rd and 1 play, I know I keep harping on it. There was more plays than just that one, but that was the gotta have it 3rd and 1 play, and it kind of fell apart on that left side, right? And it just And you have to be able to make those blocks in that situation. You have to do it. He's taken a lot of snaps as an NFL pro, right? He played a lot of football last year. So when your number gets called, you got to be ready to go, and you should have a good idea of the ebb and flow of the game by that point, especially when you've played that much ball.
1-800-990-3776, the Brian Bulaga Hour with Omer. That's what I call it on Monday after a Packer game. I got one from Jeff that we'll get to, but I have one I want to ask. When you watch the game a second time, did you learn anything or anything stand out more than watching it the first time? For those of people who don't know, Brian Bulaga, who played forever in the NFL, is so obsessed with being accurate that he has to watch a game a second time, even though I would think that when he sees it the first time, there's nothing there that really surprises him that he doesn't understand. But it's not good enough for Dr. Bulaga. He wants to watch the game a second time. All right, second time, what did you see? I know.
I do. I mean, so I think I went over the offensive line well enough that, in the last, what we were just talking about. I went over that well enough. I'm not going to continue to harp on it unless someone asks more questions about it.
All right.
I think what I was most disappointed on, because I think the Packers defensive line is very deep, right? I think they got a lot of good players, so many good players up front, that I was disappointed with their run stopping performance. And I get it, like, you have bad days, and maybe a bad day is giving up a $150 or a $125, but 211 on the ground is just unacceptable. It really is. And I know the guys in that room think it's unacceptable. Rashawn and Kenny and Preston, there's no way those guys are sitting there after that game going, man, we did our job. I know they're not saying that. And, there's the mentality that this defensive line gets after the quarterback, which they do really well. They are a go get the quarterback type of group, which is great. But there's games like this that you're going against a running football team. The Falcons are a running football team. Your mentality has to switch, knowing that you're going against a team that's going to try to run the ball 30 plus times, right? And that's what they did. And it didn't seem like they had an answer for it. Anything that the Falcons try to do on the ground, they seem to pick up that first down, or they got a good chunk on first down or a good chunk on second down that kept that quarterback in a comfortable third and short, third and medium situation where he could make a play, where he could scramble or throw. I mean, they gave up. I mean, you look at it, 235 in the air is a good day from a pass defense standpoint, right? But when it combined it with the 211 on the ground and 446 total, not a great day. And I get they had one sack, and again, kind of like the Atlanta defensive line against the Packers O line, the story was different. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on the QB for Atlanta. They did a good job there, but overall, man, like, you got to know when you're going against a rushing team that the mentality has to switch. Like, hey, we're stopping the run today. Like, we got to stop the run, and it just didn't happen.
All right, as a follow-up, before we get to Peter and Steve, I somewhat put that on the defensive coordinator. I don't know if I should. That's where you can answer. They always talk about Belichick. He takes away whatever a team or a player wants to do most. Atlanta runs the ball. I'd put 14 people on the line of scrimmage and say, I'm going to make that quarterback beat me. I'm not going to let their running game beat me. Now, maybe they did do that and they just didn't execute it. Again, you can agree or disagree with my theory and any accuracy to it as to where you look and go, why don't they have more people on the line of scrimmage and make that quarterback beat them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it. Yeah, I mean, if I was a defensive coordinator, that's what I would do, obviously, but I'm not a defensive coordinator. I look at it from a standpoint of a defensive coach trusting his guys, right? Like, you have a really good 6-7 defensive linemen that you rotate in, through and out, and you got to trust those guys at some point to get the job done, right? Like, you can't go in there every game with 5-man fronts, 2 linebackers, and a safety dropping down. You can't be going with 8-man boxes all the time, because what you get gashed on then is play action, right? Which this team utilizes well because they run the ball so well. So if you start committing 8 guys in the box, they're going to play action you to death, and all it takes is for one guy to get loose, and then you have those, those shots over the middle because you're so committed to stopping the run. Those slants and thick, quick ones over the middle are right there. And
right.
So you kind of have to pick your poison as a defensive coordinator. And if I'm looking at the Packers defense, especially as a coach, I trust those guys up front and the linebackers. They should be able, with 6 guys, 7 max, they should be able to stop the run. I mean, they got plenty of talent to stop the run. And at some point, you can say, all right, we're going to commit 8 guys to stop the run, but it just doesn't really work that way, right? It's kind of you got to.
It's on the players. They just didn't play well enough. They just didn't have a good enough game.
I mean, we could blame the coaches all we want, but they're not on the field. The guys got to go out there and do the job, and that's what I always looked at as a player. If the offense didn't do well, are we going to blame LaFleur or McCarthy's play calling or X, Y, and Z? At the end of the day, we have to execute the plays. We have to get the job done, and that's what this whole thing is. Like, the players are the ones that play the game. Sure, if there's some just terrible, outrageous calls that you're like, hey, we should have never done this. They're doing, like, okay, that's like a few times a game, right? Like, that's a few times a game that maybe you'd look at like, that was a terrible call. We should have been in this or should have done that or ran this or ran that. But like, at the end of the day, I mean, 211 rushing yards isn't from terrible coaching. It just isn't, right? Like, it doesn't work that way because
that's why I posed the question. You get the final answer. I mean, my answer on that sometime is players always said that, and I'm going like, yeah, but all players aren't the same. Now, in this case, you're right. We're talking about a highly respected, great group of players and deep. So it's not about – that's why I asked you about the offensive line. I mean, I'm sorry. When Bulaga's not in there and they got somebody else in there, he isn't as good as you. And so, to me, I can understand a slightly different standard. Not with this. I get it because this is a good group. Everybody knows they're good and they're deep. Peter, you're on the Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer. You're actually Homer now. Peter Homer, go ahead. Your question.
Okay. No, I'm just curious as to why the coaching staff on the 3rd and 1 play decided to run off of Newman and Walker versus Tom and Runyon, who are proven to be better blockers. So what goes into that decision?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I mean, if it's me, I'm running behind Runyon and Tom, to be dead honest with you. But I mean, obviously, where the ball is on the field and the strong side of the field or the wide side and what you're trying to set up. But I agree with you. I really do. I mean, I watched it a million times. I, rewind for it, just to see exactly what happened on the play. And you're right. If it's me, I'm running behind the 2 guys that I know have been in the game the entire time and that have a good rhythm of the game. And you can run it behind those 2 guys and probably get a yard. So I agree with you on that. I can guarantee you if LaFleur probably ran it back in his head and rewatched it, he would probably have said, probably should have pounded the ball down the right side. Probably should have done that.
How much? Let me follow up to Homer Peter. Good question. How often do you know the defense knows what you're doing, but if it's still your strength, you go ahead and do it because you don't care that they know it's coming? Is that accurate, or do sometimes you not do it thinking they're overreacting to that, or does that not really apply in this situation to a run?
I mean, no, in this situation, I mean, they know what you're going to do. You know what you're going to do. You have a 235, 40-pound back, right? You need a yard. You're going to run the football. I mean, and they know what you know, and then it just becomes man on man. Can we create a yard for our back? And that's really what it is. It's a situation that happens multiple times in games. I mean, it happens every 3rd down and long. They know you're passing it. You know you're passing it, and it's man-on-man pass blocking. It's the same thing in this situation. 3rd and 1, game is essentially on the line. If you look at, I get they had another drive in the 2-minute, but game's on the line. You need a yard. Everyone in the stadium knows it's going to be a run. You have to execute the run and put a body on a body and get Dillon not to have to try to make a cut 1.5 yards in the backfield. And that's essentially what happened. He had to jump cut behind Walker, driving the DN down into the B gap. And while he did that, he had to jump cut out of that hole. And by the time he jump cut to go north and south again, the scraping linebacker came over the top, beat Newman over the top, filled the gap, and Dillon tried to dive for a yard and missed it. And that's what happened. But at that point in time in the game, hat on a hat, we need to get a yard, and it just didn't happen.
Peter, thanks for the call. Steve is waiting. He's next for Brian Bulaga. This used to be the Homer Hour. Nope. It's the Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer and all the other callers with questions. Next.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
Things are moving along a bit slowly. Westbound on 94 right out of the Marquette, heading out through the stadium interchange. Southbound on 41, heavy from Silver Spring all the way to about Mayfair Road. Northbound's heavy from Blue Mound Road up past Swan Boulevard. And then on northbound 41, backing up out of the Marquette all the way up to Key. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, increasing clouds, a slight chance for showers later on with a low of 55. And tomorrow, scattered rain showers, isolated thunderstorms, a high of 70. Weather is brought to you by Adams Generators, the #1 rated Generac dealer in Wisconsin. Call for your free quote today at 262-944-2010 for power peace of mind, or visit adamspower.com/generators. For the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Loudon, 94.5 ESPN.
Change your grocery game plan to locally owned Century Foods, home of the best meat, freshest produce, and tastiest treats. Now through Wednesday, save on 8.2 to 16.5 ounce selected varieties Hostess snack cakes, 2 for $6. 3-count box selected varieties Pop Secret microwave popcorn, 2 for $5. 100 to 144.5 liquid or 42-count packs selected varieties Arm & Hammer laundry detergent, $8.99. 9 to 10 ounce selected varieties Green Giant steamed vegetables, 2 for $4.
Let's see, spices, cardamom, hibiscus powder. It's like looking at Green Bay's roster right now. I don't recognize it, but I'll learn to love it.
Attention Century shoppers. You're going to love this opportunity. Win 2 tickets to see Green Bay play Kansas City on December 3rd. Autographed Packers footballs or 4 packs of Hall of Fame tickets.
I'd love to see Green Bay's new QB in action and win those tickets. What do I do?
Find the weekly code on Century's Facebook or Instagram and enter to win.
Love it. Getting the Century code on Insta right now.
Ends November 14th.
The Saganiac Planning Marquette Championship moment. Last season, expected to do nothing and did everything. Preseason, Marquette picked 9th of 11 teams. At the end, 17-3, and won the Big East regular season title by 2 games. Won the last 6 in a row, including over 2 nationally ranked teams. First Marquette team ever, outright Big East regular season conference champs, and it wasn't close, and it wasn't 9th. 2023 champion. If you're a company owner offering medical insurance for your employees, you may be sick and tired of the constant increase in rates or change in benefits. Now's the time to take a look at a different type of plan. At Saganiac Planning, we call it level funding. It's an opportunity to keep premiums low and possibly receive a return of your premiums. For more information regarding level funding, please call John Saganiac Jr., 262-783-6161. That's 262-783-6161. Saganiac Planning, a name synonymous with employee benefits and top-notch service.
For over 4 decades, one name has stood out as a symbol of excellence in automotive sales and service. It's the Boucher Automotive Group, dedicated to providing exceptional experiences to all of our valued customers.
We will help you find the perfect vehicle within your budget while respecting your time.
With 20 convenient locations, we're the one-stop destination for all your automotive needs.
At Boucher, we're your trusted partner on every mile of your journey, riding with you every mile since 1977.
Check out our brand new Hyundai dealership, one of the largest in the Midwest.
Step inside of our state-of-the-art showroom where you can view our new Hyundai models and some of our finest certified pre-owned.
We've also expanded our service center, staffed by our factory-certified technicians.
And right next door, we've started construction on our all-new Genesis of Waukesha dealership.
But we're not just building walls, we're building careers.
So if you're looking for a career with great benefits and opportunity for growth, Boucher's the place for you.
At Boucher, we ride with you every mile.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
That's right. It was the Homer on Mondays. It's now the Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer and all the other people who have questions. The Discount Liquor Twitter poll question, Brian Bulaga, did Atlanta win the game or did the Packers lose the game? Those are your choices.
I think Atlanta went out and won the game. I think they did. I guess you could look at it from both sides, right? I guess you could look at it that way, but Atlanta won the game, right? And the coach took gambles at the end of the game, going for it on 4th and 1, and he took the risks and they paid off and they won the game. I mean, they didn't have the Packers give them some cheap turnover or something crazy happened that, Atlanta got the ball at the 2-yard line and they were able to just run the clock out and kick a field goal, they won it. And the Packers had a chance to win it. And Atlanta stepped up on defense and went for it out without gaining a yard in a 2-minute drive. So to me, I look at it as they won it.
Steve in Sheboygan, you're on with Brian Bulaga. Take it away.
Hey, a couple things, Brian. First off, what's your take on all this mismanaged clock management, getting all the delay of game penalties? And you could see in that game
I
yesterday
want to ask,
how
too,
that kind of...
have you ever seen a delay of game on a team that was going to kick a field goal that didn't call timeout so they could kick the field goal? I think I might have done a high school game one time.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's a good question.
And the other thing is, it's like,
Go ahead,
okay,
Steve.
so they got the 5-yard penalty, so it pushes everybody back 5 yards. So why wouldn't you take the 56-yard penalty instead of the 51? Why would you punt?
Or 56-yard field goal. Okay.
Yeah, good question.
It was a 51-yard field goal, and then they got the delay of game, so it pushed everybody 5 yards back. It would have been a 56-yard field goal. Why wouldn't you take the field goal? That 3 points.
LaFleur said today he thought that was too long. He did answer that today. He thought that was too long. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's the only.
He kicked a 52-yarder last week, and he was probably 20 yards deep after the field goal.
Yeah, no, I will say this.
He's got a leg.
Yeah, I know. He can move the ball. He's got a strong leg, and it was indoors, right? No weather implicated. The only thing that would be what Homer said was, LaFleur said we thought that was too long for him. And the only thing about that is, right, if it's too long, or say he does miss it and they get the ball.
And then the field position. Yeah.
Yeah, and the field position is crucial. So I look at it both ways, but in all reality, I guess you got to try it to see how he does, right? At some point, you got to try it to see it. At that point in time, he probably thought it was a little ambitious, which, okay. The delay of game blows my mind. It really does. The delay of game blows my mind. I don't ever remember being in a game where we got to delay a game on a field goal and actually without calling it, not the coach not calling a timeout or something happening. That was wild to me. And such it's an understated part of what happened. I mean, that was a big play in the game. It was a huge play in the game. A 5-yard penalty on a 51-yard field goal. I mean, I'd imagine that the kid probably makes it. If I had to take a guess, he's got a strong leg. He's shown nothing but accuracy so far. So huge play, understated. I can't even imagine what was going on the sideline. I thought I read something. LaFleur said that he was paying attention to. I forgot what I read. I should have read it a little bit clearer, but.
I get that, Brian. I get that. I would assume he didn't think he had to watch to see that they wouldn't get the field goal off. He's probably looking at other offensive plays or things like that, right? I don't.
My guess would be that he's thinking that they're going to get the kickoff. He's probably looking at the iPad or he was talking to someone at the time and thinking he was going to get it off. There's no way that he was staring at the clock going, are we going to get this off? Are we going to get this off? So I think just, obviously, I don't know what was going on up front that the ball didn't get snapped. I don't know what happened. I mean, the holder has to be looking at the clock knowing, all right, we're ticking down here. Call for the ball. And it never happened. So kind of just a mistake by, the special team unit. And obviously, I'm sure LaFleur took that mistake on him saying I should have been paying attention more closer to the clock. But probably like you said in his defense, he probably didn't think for a second it wasn't going to get off. So just kind of an all-around, stinker on that.
All right, now this one is, thanks for the call, Steve, 1-800-990-3776 if you have a question. I love this, Jeff. This is how it works, Coach Bulaga. Ask Brian, he said the Packers were going to make the playoffs. Does he still believe that after this loss to Atlanta?
Yeah, I do. I'm not changing my stance on it. I think we have to know these games were going to happen, right? Everyone was and I'm one of them too, that is excited about the youth of the team, which I am, but with youth brings these types of issues, right? And I'm not changing my opinion because I think they're going to learn from these types of losses and grow as a team and, learn a lot from them. But you kind of knew that these types of things would happen going into the season. If you didn't think they were going to happen, you'd be naive because you got a young football team. And then, like you've mentioned multiple times, to boot, you're down your best 4 offensive players, if you're not counting Jordan Love in that. And, you don't expect the defense to kind of get gashed for 211. Obviously, you don't really expect that from our defense because I think our defense has potential to be top 10 in the league. You don't expect that, but overall, looking at the team, it's a young squad. So these types of games that come down to the final 3 minutes of a game, or you need to have situations on 3rd and 1s, and it's certain experience that gets you over the hump on those. And then, I don't know what happened also on the Jordan Love. He wanted to sneak it, and the ball didn't get snapped. I don't know what happened there. It looked like
okay. So they're not supposed to snap it, but if there's a word that he uses, then you go ahead and snap the ball because he's seeing something where he thinks he can make it. Is that a procedure that you're familiar with?
Yes, I am. That is so what was going on there? Obviously, he started it trying to see if they can get him to jump, which was very clear by his mannerisms. He got under there, he did it, then he kind of backed off and got back under. And I think he probably thought, which was
something that makes him think that he can make it. I don't know. You have those meetings. I don't know if that means where the defensive line is or whatever. And then he forgot the word or did the wrong word. Now I ask you, how does that happen? You're a young quarterback, but
obviously,
tell us what the word has been in the past. Is the word 27 football?
No, it changed week to week with Aaron. There'd be a color or a certain word, or he would say, "Here we go," and if he said, "Here we go," we know we're live, or there'd be something that he would say to let us know, like, hey, we're trying to get him offside. It's dead until I give you a live word. And then the live word was so-and-so, and you'd go up there and you'd just be patient.
Would you repeat the live word more than once? Would you go like blue, 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 or do you just say it once?
No, he would just say it once. And he would just say it once. And then, because you don't want to make it super obvious, right? You just go up there, and sometimes it'd be, all right, here we go.
Use Omaha.
And then
you don't want to use Omaha.
No, it was never Omaha for Aaron. It was never Omaha. He would change it up every week based on if we did that one time, he would think, hey, someone caught that on the mic, so I can't use that again. I don't know what happened on that play because no one moved besides Jordan. So some message did not get passed along to everyone else.
He said the wrong word. He didn't say the word that you have to say to snap the ball to know that you're going to run. All right, I got another text from Kathy. Jordan Love, how has he played compared to your expectations before the season started? And we'll do that after this break, along with your calls if you have 1-800-990-3776. It used to be the Homer Hour. Monday is now the Brian Bulaga Hour with Homer and friends.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN. The Crusaders are rolling.
In full sprint mode, and he's just going to run past everyone. 25-20, 15-10, 5, touchdown, Marvinus Butler.
On Friday night, Catholic Memorial takes on the New Berlin West Vikings. Our coverage with Gabe Neitzel and Mike Podol on the call starts at 6:30. Catholic Memorial Football on 94.5 ESPN is brought to you by R&R Insurance, BC Adhesives, KMI Construction, Lake 5 Landscape Supply, Home Sealed Exteriors, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, Curative Care Network.
Here in Wisconsin, a good old-fashioned is an important way of life. And that's where my friends at Perky's Old Fashioned come in. Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Gabe Neitzel here to tell you about the easiest way to put together an old-fashioned. Perky's offers both brandy and bourbon old-fashioned mixes. And get this, the booze is already in there. Just add the soda of your choosing, and you'll have Grandma Perky's Old Fashioned in the palm of your hand. Perky's is locally made and great for get-togethers of all kinds. Get perked up and head to Perky'sSpirits.com for your nearest Perky's location.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
Really looking at the entire space holistically. The environment, the walls, ceilings, lighting, flooring, furniture, technology, along with acoustics.
To conceptualize how the end users are going to interact with the room, from the furniture all the way down to the AV, having that work seamlessly within the environment and often hiding within the furniture.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
What advice would you give somebody that you know that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Let's get the latest from Lambeau. This is your green and gold fix on 94.5 ESPN. Brought to you by Z-Bart of Greater Milwaukee. Want that mirror finish on your car? You need Z-Gloss by Z-Bart. Z-Gloss is a 3-layer ceramic coating that not only gives your car that mirror finish, it protects it from everything that Mother Nature can throw at it. Visit ZBart.com for more information.
The green and gold unable to make it a 2-0 start under Jordan Love on Sunday in Atlanta, following in heartbreaking fashion 25-24. Falcons kicking the eventual game-winning field goal with just under a minute remaining to overcome Green Bay's 12-point second-half lead. And there was no other way to put it for Matt LaFleur.
Obviously very disappointed that when you have a 12-point lead in the second half and you don't make the plays and don't play complementary football, and then when you have mistakes, all those get magnified. You got to give credit to Atlanta. They battled, did a better job than us, obviously.
This has been your green and gold fix on 94.5 ESPN. Brought to you by Z-Bart of Greater Milwaukee.
Get your game on at the Island Resort and Casino with first-round picks of your favorite slots and table games. Bring friends and watch your favorite team compete on big screens. Grab game day eats in T. McSee's Sports Bar or celebrate your team's victory in Horizons Steakhouse. To book your game time at the Island Resort and Casino, call 800-682-6040 today.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
I think we've run out of time, so those of you waiting, maybe you call in Thursday if you have a question for Brian Bulaga. All right, Brian. Kathy wants to know, she texts, Jordan Love, how has he played through 2 games based on your expectations for the first 2 games?
I've been very happy with the way he's played. I think he's played really well. Obviously, everything tastes a little bit worse when you lose. So I understand that. But, again, what he's been asked to do, like this last week, 14-25, 3 touchdowns, 151 yards, wasn't asked to do a whole bunch. I mean, he averaged 5.4 yards per completion. Not really pushing the ball downfield too much at this point. I think a lot of that's going to open up whenever Watson gets back. But I think overall, from what you could have expected or what you would have thought, I think he's done a nice job. Obviously, there's going to be things he has to clean up. There's especially like we said, the 4th and 1 mishap. That's something that they definitely got to address. You can't have that, especially if he was supposed to sneak that. But overall, if you're looking over 2 weeks and with all the question marks, I think he's done well. Obviously, his passing numbers aren't crazy, but they haven't asked him to do that yet. So I think that's only going to improve as time goes on here, especially if the run game continues to struggle the way it is.
Guests will enjoy, again, I'm at Blue Mountain Country Club. Guests are enjoying an evening of inspiration at the Life Navigators 40th Annual Challenger event honoring Jim Phillips. Join their matching gift challenge benefiting kids and adults with disabilities. Learn more at lifenavigators.org. There are certainly other organizations that have great causes, and these people have figured out the best way to help others given what they've gone through. Again, lifenavigators.org. Knowing how young he is, what do you like best about what you've seen? Because you know what young quarterbacks go through and then maybe what they develop and do better or on. What do you like most, understanding this is his start?
I really like how poised and calm he looks, right? Like he doesn't look like he ever gets rattled. Even in that 2-minute drive when the first 2 plays didn't really go well, he didn't look like a deer in the headlights, right? He didn't look panicked. And I really like that from him. He's got control. He's very calm. And I know we said that, what word do we want to use? And, you said boring. And I don't really like boring. We went back and forth. But I think what he brings to that offense, even when there's some chaos going on, yeah, he's reserved. But I think that brings a calm confidence to the huddle. And I really like that from him so far. And no moment looks too big for him. And I get what the 2-minute drive didn't go well. I get it. But, there's other factors into that, like the offensive line. And I'm an offensive line lover. And believe me, if I can protect the guys, I will. But I can't protect that. But I really like the way he's looked on the field so far from a confidence standpoint.
We will talk again Thursday. Thursdays, you want Jason Wilde around as well, so they can talk about the upcoming game against New Orleans. I know they're young. They should win this game. They're at home against New Orleans. There's no guarantee. I don't know what's the way you say it to show a level of confidence in this team, given that they're home for their first game.
I feel really good about it. I like their chances.
You feel really good. I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Feel really good.
I feel really good about them in this upcoming week. Obviously, everyone will get a good look at New Orleans tonight. I know I'm going to be tuned in to kind of get a look. New Orleans does have some veteran experience, so it will be a challenge. But, you're hoping that Bakhtiari's back. You're hoping that Elton's going to be okay. You don't really know. But I expect Green Bay to go out and perform well again. I really do. I expect the defense to have a big day against the Saints. I think they're ripe for the taking, for our defense to kind of get after Carr and get after that run game. So I feel good about this one as well, just like I did last week.
Yeah.
But, this is a new week.
I got it. Feeling
it's a
really
new
good. More with Brian Bulaga on Thursday. We're out of time. I don't know what's next, but it's not as good as Brian Bulaga. Next.
Kevin Moret here from Mentality Men's Health. Guys, did you know that the stored belly fat reduces your free testosterone? The more the belly grows, the harder it is to drop, mostly because of the decrease in free T. It's a vicious cycle that men are losing, and unfortunately, everyone can see it. Mentality breaks that cycle with semaglutide, an industry-changing weight loss medication that can help you lose up to 15% of your body weight while preserving your testosterone. Join our over 20,000 clients to look and feel the way you deserve. In Milwaukee, go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com.
Hi, it's John Reitz from Great Midwest Bank, and you gotta love finding change in the junk drawer, or even better, a 20 in your laundry or pants pocket, right? But the best source of extra cash may be in the walls of your home. All right, wait. Now, put down the sledgehammer and tap into the value of your house by setting up a home equity line of credit and experience a state of tranquility, knowing funds are there when you need them. Get started at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
Delays continue along southbound 43 from just before Capitol Drive all the way down to about Locust. Northbound side is going to be slow from Fond du Lac Avenue up to Keefe. Westbound 94, kind of broken down vehicle right about at 68th Street, and it's kind of in a weird spot. It's off on the left shoulder, so we're definitely seeing delays through that 27th Street out to that point. And then on and off the brakes on 41 southbound from just south of Capitol Drive down to about Mayfair Road. Traffic is brought to you by Great Lakes Dragaway, a quarter-mile-long drag strip plus a drift pad. Even drive your own car on the track. Find full event schedules and ticket information at GreatLakesDragaway.com. Weather is brought to you by National Liquor Mart at 16th and National in Milwaukee. Packed with the best beer, liquor, seltzer, and spirit deals in town. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, where your satisfaction is their plan of the TMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Hey, this is Gabe Neitzel. You're listening to 94.5 ESPN, WKTI and WKTI HD, Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.